Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing, Verna?
Good. I'm doing great. Thank you for joining us. I'm just excited to talk to you. I'm so glad that you came in. I wanted to let people know when we talk about hidden figures, obviously, a lot of you know Joe because a lot of folks are coming on that you work with Joe, which is so great. So it's not about the fact that this person is so hidden and just covered. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about folks who are out there doing phenomenal things. They're well known in their disciplines, but outside of their circles, they might not be so well known. And we want to introduce people to them because again, our goals for Podbites to inform, to inspire, and to ignite you to do something that you've been wanting to do for a while. So Joe Voyticky is here. He is the CEO of Max International. He has taken some time to come in and talk to us and give us some ideas, give us some insights, and just really share a moment with us. So like I said, thank you so much, Joe, for stopping by.
Well, it's a real pleasure. I appreciate it, and thank you for having us. It's when you talk about me, it's really even Max is a very hidden company at this point, and people should know about all of the good work that so many people in our organization are doing all around the world. And so we are all of Max is very thankful that you are taking this endeavor on and shedding some light on people who are doing some very good work.
Well, we are going to talk about it right now. Let's get to it. Of course, you are am I saying it correctly? You're in the business of nutritional supplements. Is that right?
Yes, that's
Okay.
right.
So that is what you do. Talk to us a little bit. Just give us a nutshell so that we can get some perspective. We're going to talk about some other things. We're going to go deep into kind of how you started and that sort of thing. But just tell us really quickly, if you had your elevator pitch, talk to us about Max International.
Well, we make the most important supplements on the planet because there's a molecule in all of our cells called glutathione, and glutathione is the master antioxidant. But what people don't know about it is that it's made inside of each of our cells. It's what we would call the center of cellular defense. And so our products help promote the production of glutathione in each of your cells. Now, the problem with glutathione is that as you get older, after about age 20, generally speaking, your glutathione levels go down. And as you have lower levels of glutathione, your inflammation levels go up. So that's why when you don't feel the same at 20 as you do at 30, and then 35 and 40, and I don't know if you've hit those numbers yet, Verna, but for me, as it get to 45, 50, glutathione levels are going down, your stress levels are going up, your free radical production is now proliferating throughout your body, and you just don't feel the same. And so one of the things that's going on, as part of your aging process is your glutathione levels decrease, and you start to not feel the same. You don't get the same sleep. You're not able to exercise. You're not able to recover the same. All of these things, there are about 75 different disease states associated with low levels of glutathione. But then you may ask, well, why haven't I heard about this? Well, the simple reason is because there hasn't been an effective way of raising glutathione levels that is consistent, that is affordable, right? And so Max International, we were very, very lucky. We have Dr. Herbert Nagasawa, and he worked for 25 years on trying to figure out, well, how do I raise glutathione levels? And the way that you do it is you have to protect a very fragile molecule called cysteine. You must deliver bioavailable cysteine to the cells. If you can do that, you can raise glutathione levels because the other two components of glutathione production, glutamic acid and glycine, are in plentiful supply in your cells. What you lack is bioavailable cysteine. And so Dr. Nagasawa invented a molecule called ribosine. And it's really very elegant. He simply combined D-ribose sugar with L-cysteine. And the D-ribose protects the exposed sulfhydryl molecule of cysteine, and that allows it to make it bioavailable. So when you take a Max product, now this is what's really wonderful. You could take a Max product anywhere around the world, right? And we're going to be raising your glutathione levels. And that has very profound effects on your health. But, so as you had said, the theme, hidden figures, well, there's a hidden fact, right? How important glutathione is. And that Max International, we've got 42 peer-reviewed published studies on our molecule, ribosine.
Okay.
That's very, very rare.
Okay, let me jump in here because this is all quite interesting. I know that our viewers, some of them would know the science that you're talking about, many of them not. One thing I want to ask you though is a little bit about, I want to kind of go back. So I want to go back because I think this is important. The show, I want to talk about kind of how you got where you are. So understanding the
Sure.
science, understanding what you do. How did you get there? I know that I met you, and I wanted to let people know I do know Joe. I don't know you well. It's not like we hung out. You were a classmate of my brother's. You both went to law
Yes.
school together, and you both are very entrepreneurial minded. You're very philanthropic. You work on projects together continually, so you guys work well together. And I remember I came to New York and you were working at a law firm, and I was doing some work at the television station then. And I was still trying to figure some things out, and I was working on a contract, had a contract from an agent, and I was talking to my brother, and I said to him, hey, I don't know, should I sign it, should I not? He said, talk to my friend Joe. I'm like, I forgot about that. Called you up, went to your office, you read it through to me, we talked about it, I made decisions, moved forward. But the thing that I'm asking is, you came from a totally different arena, and you
Hmm.
came from something where somebody might think, I could retire from that. Some people go to a law firm, a private firm, and they stay there until their retirement age, and they kind of, you know, fade away, not fade away, but you know what I mean. They kind of,
Yeah.
move on and do something else, something that might be more relaxing and retiring. But you decided at that point to move to another career, actually. Tell me why you did that. What was the catalyst that made you do that at that point in your life?
So the real catalyst was Dr. Nagasawa himself. I was well on my way to becoming a partner in a New York
Mm,
law firm. And to me, that was an important thing to achieve, right? There were not a lot of African American men that were partners in corporate finance, certainly. And so this was my mission. I was going to make it as a partner. I was working at a firm called Pepper Hamilton, which is a great, great firm. I had some wonderful mentors and partners there that were looking out for me, making sure that I was becoming a great finance lawyer. They were introducing me to clients, and things were going, fairly well. But then, but the whole attitude was about, hey, let's get big deals, let's bring in more clients. It was really, truly very me focused, right? Like
mhm,
I
mhm.
wanted to become this great lawyer. But then I met Dr. Nagasawa. Max International had hired me to do the acquisition of Dr. Nagasawa's company, Celgevity. And during that process, being the lawyer that I am, I was being extremely diligent about going through every single thing. Because, who's going to try to get something over on a New York lawyer, right? They're going to say, oh, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread, right? Everybody
Right,
says that.
right.
And it was my job to make sure that the science was real, that Max International, my client, was buying something of value. So, you know, put together the team, did the acquisition, but in that process, going through all of his studies, finding out that they're all independent, truly independent. Okay, that's shocking. That he was bringing in scientists to tell him his product worked, not the other way around, right?
Mhm.
And so I was a marathon runner. I finished 93rd overall in the New York City Marathon. So I was a very good runner. I was running, 80 to 100 miles a week.
Mm.
And as I got older, of course, just as I had said earlier, my inflammation levels were going up, and so I was in a lot of pain from running that much, from working that much. And so after reading all of Dr. Nagasawa's studies, I'm like, well, it seems to work on rats. Maybe it'll work on a New York lawyer because we're probably not that far apart.
I knew you were going to say that.
so I took the product, and my issues cleared up within 3 weeks, which I was shocked. I thought it was psychosomatic. I'm like, that's not possible. I had literally done everything possible to get my body to be able to train like I wanted to, because it was such an important part of my life, and nothing was working. But this worked, and the legitimacy of it was so powerful. The science was so powerful. In your brothers and I parlance, the third party validation of this man's science was beyond anything I had ever seen. And then I have a personal experience, and then I share the products with other lawyers in my office, and they too have a similar experience. And so I was then asked by Max to come and join the team. Now you can imagine the difficulty in that, right? Trying to talk to, my colleagues, my friends, that I'm going to join a network marketing company that's selling legitimate supplements, move from New York City, where I'm about to reach my goal to become a partner in a law firm. We all know what the financial remuneration of that is. It's very significant. And I'm going to move to Salt Lake City and join a network marketing company. That's a big ask, right? That's a big bridge to cross, right?
Right. What was that moment, though? What was the moment that made you cross the bridge? Because I understand that you're saying you took it, it worked for you, but I'm trying to help our viewers understand. Okay. So
he changed my value system, because I asked him during the transaction, I said, Dr. Nagasawa, this product of yours, why aren't you selling it to Merck? Why aren't you selling it to Pfizer? Why are you selling it to a network marketing company when you could, this could be worth untold fortune? It just didn't make sense to me. And he said, Joe, my life is about helping people. I really don't care about the money. I need this product to get out there and get people to experience it. And he said, if we sell it to a pharmaceutical company, and he and his son, Dr. Scott Nagasawa, said, we know all of those guys. We know them. They know who we are. But we know that they won't bring it out until they're ready to, the public has been educated about glutathione, and they'll wait and wait and wait. And he said, I'm 82 years old. I need this to get out now. And so it just struck me. And then he asked me, he said, you're really good at this business stuff. Max would really need you. Would you join? And I'm like, come on, man, you got to be kidding me. Do I do that? But that really, seeing a person who was so selfless. I mean, Dr. Nagasawa is the most kind, gentle, intelligent human that I think I've ever met, because he put 25 years of his life into trying to develop something to legitimately help every single person on this planet. And then you contrast that with me at the time. And I was like, hold on a second. So you're asking me to help you in this mission that you've been on for most of your life.
Well, this is an interesting place.
It's a big ask.
This is an interesting place. I want to interrupt you because I want to make it practical for the folks who are looking at wanting to make a life change. And so I want to make it practical. So you basically, I'm going to cut down, you basically said, this worked for me. I found value in this. And so I'm going to try it. I'm going to uproot myself, and I'm going to now plant myself in a whole different arena because I find value in that thing. So I'm trying to get people some.
Yeah. So let's go to the specifics. Yeah. It felt as if I had then been burdened with knowledge that needed to get out to the world, right? I now know that there is a molecule that can help, right? Legitimately. The science is irrefutable. My experience, irrefutable. So the question is, for me, this is what I ask myself, do I help this man try to achieve something significant for the world? I had then dug into what the power is of network marketing and what it can do, right? What are the positive aspects of this? And I knew that it could be a vehicle to help people in countries that were developing, where their economies were growing.
Okay.
So now I'm double burdened, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Double burdened with, I know the products are unbelievable, and I know that there's a method to help.
Okay.
Right. So legitimately, my mother, okay, so now everybody has to understand this. My mother is a very religious person, went to church every day, right? Literally every day. I didn't go every day, but I was affected greatly by that. And I didn't want to, when I die, I didn't want God to ask me the question, you knew you could help. Why did you choose to stay in the law firm when you knew you could help? Now, I didn't want to answer that question when I'm asked, to say I didn't do what I could do when I knew I could do it. Right?
Let me go off on that note, because you brought up a good point, talking about your mom. And I know that I've been, doing research. You sent me some things. I've done research myself, and I know that she has inspired you to do a lot of things. So I wanted to talk about two things. First, let's back up. Well, let's talk about that. Your mom. The organizational structure that is set up with Max International. And I know that people have differing opinions on network marketing, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But what I want to talk about first is your mom. And I want to talk about the fact that you say that there was something that she instilled in you that made you want to do certain things. So I want to talk about really things that are going to be practical. So I definitely want to hear about why Max, but I also want to hear about how to make this relatable to somebody who is, I'm now owning a store, or I want to open my own business making lollipops. I'm making it up. So I'm trying to figure out how you decided how to structure the business, because I asked you when I looked at some of the promotional things, is this you or is this what Max was before you came? So I want to know how you got Max set up in the way that you did. How did you decide to come in and focus, let's say, on women? You have a lot of minorities. You have people who are underrepresented, who are in managerial positions. That's something that people talk about a lot. There's a lot of lip service. Is there action? How did you make those decisions to do those things and to step out in an arena that many people say they want to do, but don't actually accomplish?
It's a great question. There's so many people that desire opportunity, right? And I am a person, when I grew up with, as a mixed race child, it was easy to see all of the effort that my aunts, my grandmother, my mother, my dad, they all put in to get an opportunity, right? But they were never afforded that opportunity. They grew up in a time where the laws wouldn't allow them. Some of them weren't even allowed to get married. My mother and father, Lovingburst, Virginia, in 1967. This was illegal. Grew up in a time where you couldn't go to school, where people's belief systems about who we are because of the color of our skin was so ingrained, right? And you grow up with those stories about, look, why is somebody as intelligent as, this is what my grandmother used to tell me, why someone is as intelligent, as beautiful as me, not going to the best schools? I'll tell you why. She would tell me why. And talk to my aunts, right? They're all from McCormick, South Carolina. And South Carolina, not, as most people know, not exactly the greatest history of racial harmony. Right? It's a very, very tough place. And they grew up there, and their parents, their parents were slaves, so it's not that far away. But they would tell us these stories about what they were doing so that I could do, and my brother and sister could do whatever we wanted, and we appreciated that, right? Opportunity. Opportunity means you can educate yourself, and then you can go and do whatever it is you need to do. So I've never, ever, ever forgotten the fact that I'm not anywhere without everybody, right? I've needed and need people's help, right? So we come together to try to affect a positive change in the world. And so in me, all I ever wanted to do was give people a chance. Give them that chance that they want, that they haven't been afforded. Maybe they haven't been as lucky as I was to grow up in a family that constantly was reminding me of my value, constantly reminding me that if I put effort into things that I could achieve them, constantly reminding me that I'm as good as anybody out there, right? Those kinds of reinforcing belief systems and constant support, that constant love, that allowed me to get to where I am, right? It allowed me to get to all of the things that I've achieved. And so I wanted to, get into a business that I could do the same, because it's important to me, and I fully believe that I'll see them again, and they're going to come up to me and they're going to say, what'd you do with what we gave you? Did you live up? Did you live up to the values that we taught you? Did you give back? Did you give people an opportunity? And it's not, and this is something that's critically important, at least in my belief system. They never gave me what would be considered a hand out.
Okay.
They gave me a hand up. They gave me the opportunity to climb. And so it becomes imperative to say, okay, we're going to pass knowledge, right? We're going to pass people skills. We give you opportunity to learn so you can improve yourself as much as you want to. And so when we do that, you start to see that there is every person that has drive, there's not like a big disparity amongst different types of people. There are people who have drive. You give them that opportunity, you see them rise up, you see them shine, you see them achieve, and they appreciate it, right? They value it. They cling to that culture of belief and reinforcement and care. And once that takes hold, once belief takes hold that, oh my God, this is legit. This company actually believes in me. Oh my gosh, this company actually wants me to succeed. They're going to allow me to go through the learning process. They're going to give me the support. They're going to let me make my mistakes. They're going to, work with me so that I become better, and therefore then I give back to that organization. And so that was the philosophy that we try to put into place.
When you talk to people, how do you combat the network marketing kind of persona? Because everybody doesn't think, obviously a lot of people do it. So not everybody feels that it's not, an exciting or interesting or legitimate thing. But some people do still have that feeling about it. How do you combat that image, that persona, or do you?
Oh, you have to. You have to be aware of what the perception of you is. And then we try to strategize about, okay, well, how are we going to talk about it? We try to talk about it from a perspective of truth and setting people's expectations properly, right? All business is difficult. There are going to be challenges in every single business. So when people, and so this is one of the expectations that network marketing set that I think was really poor. And I say this in general. They say, oh, anybody can do it. Oh yeah, well, anybody can do it, yeah, but can anybody do it properly? That's the real question.
Right. Okay.
You need to have certain skills to do this business well, right? That means that you have to learn how to build proper relationships. You have to develop good communication skills. You have to develop teamwork, right? You have to develop marketing skills. Now, online skills to promote your products. You have to have cultural skills. So what type of team do you want to build? What kind of company do you want to be a part of? You have to be able to transfer knowledge and education and value to do this business well, right? That's a far cry from, oh, you can get rich by being quickly early into this organization, right? Those are false promises. And so, maybe network marketing has gotten a bad name because those promises are made too often and out there. So we talk about our culture, right? That we are committed, that we're going to be there, that we're going to be doing business a certain way, meaning we value people first, right? People first, right? You want to deliver value, no matter what the business you're in. If you're not delivering value to your consumer, to your customer, well, now you're just telling them a story, right? So when you buy a Max product, if I'm to sell you, Verna, a Max product, if I don't deliver more value than you paid for it, you're not going to be a customer for very long, right? So when I'm talking to you about why should you give me and pay for this product, I'm telling you that it's worth more than what you're paying. I will tell you why it's worth more. So let's take our business in West Africa, for example.
And I do want to talk about the culture, like you were saying. That's an important. So if you're able to weave this into this, because again, how you you're in 17 countries, you're growing. And I know that there are different ways that you have to approach. So I'm looking for stuff that people can take and say, okay, I see how he's doing that. I see how he's doing that. So if you can put some of that in there, how you deal with the cultural concerns as you are growing the company.
You have to be patient with your growth, right? Because if you grow too fast, you can lose control of your culture, right? It becomes not so much then about, are we trying, so this is where you have to set your proper goals and constantly remind yourself about what it is you're trying to achieve. So if your top priority is, I want to make as much money as fast as I can, that's very different than, I want to build a culture that will last and impact people, right? There's a distinction. You still, some people might argue, well, there's a distinction without a difference. No, there's a real significant difference. The difference is that we focus on making sure that our processes are right before we then go and expand. You can't spread a culture unless it has been taught to a person and they are then able to teach it, right? If you don't do that, you will then have people that are going to change your message and hence change your culture, and then your foundations will not be as strong. So when we go through this process of training, we're careful about that. We're careful about training our management in how to build the business the way we think it's best, so that it is consistent, so that we can fulfill on our promises, or we can fulfill the expectations that we set, not only to our consumers, but also to our employees, right? Because all of us are in this together, right? We're stronger together. You develop consistency together. And I always look back on the way the U.S. Constitution was formed, right? This is one of the most significant cultural documents, and we teach this all the time at our trainings. Those people set together a document that allowed the U.S. to have the longest standing democracy in history, right? That's very significant. Why is that? When you look at it, it's because of the values that are imbued in the document, right? They created a living document. They created something that all of us in the United States kept on pointing to and saying, hey, live up to your words. Live up to your words.
Especially recently, I have to throw that in there. I know that that's been a big deal, you know, as we're talking about that. Live up to the words. Go ahead.
Right. Live up to the values, right? And allow for change and growth, you know, that. And so we try to emulate that. We try to say, okay, here is who we are as an organization. We care about the development, the personal development of people. We care about their having the ability to deliver a product that is valuable to the consumer and distinct from other products in the marketplace, that it is a superior product. We care about your personal development and growth as an individual, as a person. You will become better if you work with us. I promise. We will work with you to make you better. When you see that type of culture take hold, right? When the belief systems start to be broken down, because it's easy to give up, right? Because once you run into some difficulty, you're like, it's not going to work, right? It's not going to work. The culture is not going to take hold. No one's ever going to, wow, are you going to go do business in West Africa, Joe? That's never going to work. Never, ever, 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 ever. I don't know how many times I've heard that, right? Or in the Philippines, or down in Central and South America. It's never going to work, right? So you just have to have that belief. You have to stick to your values, and you keep repeating it, and you keep doing it, and you keep being committed to it. And once it takes hold, once people have the belief, then it becomes who we are. And people want to become a part of that, right? It's a joy for me, right, every day to wake up and say, I'm doing something that is going to impact people's lives legitimately, right? The products that the company makes matter. Okay. The personal development that we have matters. And I hope that's what, you know, our culture is, and I hope that that's what people get when they come and join.
Let's talk about a couple of things that have been challenges, things that have been seen as challenges over the years. Obviously, things are moving along with Max International, and they've taken a couple of hits over the years. I know a couple of years back, there was a time when there were folks who were some of the, I would call them top brass, began to leave the company. Can you talk a little bit about how you, I'm not trying to reinvent, you know, and go through the history of that. It's not a history lesson, so let me make that clear. I don't want you to think that you have to do that. What I am asking you is, how does a company, how does a CEO come back from something like that? There were lawsuits, there were people leaving. How do you continue to make people who are working with you, people who are working for the company, feel secure, feel confident that they are going to be okay in that situation? What do you do when the bottom seems like it's falling out?
So that's another great question. Well, first I would say to people, there are certain people that you don't want on your team, you know, and that's okay. You know, I will be the first to tell people, make sure that people that are in your team have the same value system that you do, that they are willing to work towards that as a goal, to improve the organizational system, to improve the culture. If they're not, you need to get rid of them. They need to be gone as quickly as possible. And sometimes that's a difficult, painful process. You know, not to say that we didn't lose people that I absolutely care about, love, and still are my really excellent friends, you know, but I will always tell people, I always want you to go to an opportunity that you think is better for you and your family. That is absolutely what you should do, because that should be your priority. So we've lost some people, and they're still my great friends, and we still share opportunities with each other and go back and forth, beating ideas up and all that. And that's great because there's a lot of business to do in the world. So you don't, when somebody goes to a better opportunity, that doesn't mean they're the enemy. If they have this, if they have a similar value system, it just means that you lived up to your value system by saying, hey, I care about you enough to move, you should move to something that's better for you right now. And then there are those people that needed to go, you know, and that's okay. There's always risk. We don't have an absolute 100% crystal ball, but I am absolutely confident in what we're doing. You know, let's give you an example. I had an example where people were telling me, you know, this one person in particular said, yeah, well, if I leave the company, it's going to fall to pieces. And what I said to this person was, I would rather fail on my terms than succeed on yours.
Okay.
Right? Because I believe this person and I did not share the same values.
Okay.
And so I'm very clear about the fact that if we can't succeed on the terms that are acceptable and in line with our values, then, you know, so be it, right? And sometimes that's a risk. But at the same time, I'm also very confident in my work ethic, in my belief system. I am extraordinarily confident in the belief system and values of our key people and their work ethic and their belief. So, you know, when you have good support systems around you, when you have good people around you, it's not, oh, I'm just relying on Joe Voyticky to make this happen. That's just not it. I'm reliant upon my entire team of people that are working with me to achieve a goal. And so when you have that level of talent and commitment, you know, the hard times, they're going to come. But we know at Max, you know, my management team and our associates and our leaders, we all know that we will figure it out. That's for sure. We're going to figure it out.
Tell me then, I know that COVID obviously threw in a curveball for many companies. Many companies, let's put it mildly.
To say the least, yes.
Right. So my question is, I know that many companies did not survive that. Many companies had to do layoffs, had to do all sorts of things. Some got creative. And I know that I spoke to you during this period, a little bit after this, about a creative way that Max decided to handle it. But tell me how that impacted the company and what you were able to do to survive that.
Yeah. So it was an incredibly difficult time because supply lines around the world were challenged. You know, when it comes to the production of a finished good, you know, people are very used to the fact that, oh, you get this bottle of Celgevity and that's it, right? Well, there are ingredients that have to be delivered to the manufacturer. There are bottles that have to be delivered to the manufacturer. There are labels that have to be delivered. There are lids that have to be delivered. Then all of that has to get blended together in an appropriate way, and then it has to get packaged and then shipped to the various countries. If any one of those segments falls, the whole thing fails, right? And so you had multiple issues going on at the same time across the entire world. And this is something nobody had ever seen before, obviously. And so what did we do? The first thing I did was go into my room and have an absolute panic attack.
Little meltdown moment. I got it.
Like, you got to be kidding me. This is crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm literally about flying down to Ecuador to do our launch. Right? Literally, we're a week away from launching Ecuador, and the country shuts down entirely. Right?
Wow.
That's a very difficult thing for a company like ours where we develop our awareness through doing events.
Yeah. Sure. Sure. What do you do?
It's a challenge. All right. Yeah. So after, saying, okay, it's always, okay, that's the situation. Go do your panic thing. Okay. And then when you come out with a plan, right? And you tell people, this is what we're going to do. You tell people, we've been through things before together. We're going to solve this together, right? We will succeed. And one of my goals was I did not want to lay anyone off at Max, right? Like you said, we're in 17 countries. A lot of those countries were impacted hugely by COVID, right? And they're still being impacted. Martial law down in Ecuador, the Philippines, near shutdowns completely. Malaysia going through, incredible infection rates. Nigeria, Ghana going through inflation, right? All types of stuff's going on all at once. But people needed to know, all of our people needed to know that we had a plan to get them through this, right? And that's what our finance team and our ops team, we all sat down and we went to work solve the problem. What can we do so that we can deliver on the promise that no one will lose their job during this time, right? Because it's very important that everybody have income in a situation where there is total chaos going on. Right?
What kind of mathematics, though, were you able to do to make that happen? I mean, you have managers up and down your organization. How were you able to do that?
So we got together and I asked the managers, where do they project their sales figures to be? Okay. Right, the GMs in each country, sat down with the CFO in each country, deliver those numbers to our CFO and to our management team here in the US. We crunched those numbers and we went about saying, okay, this is the financial plan that we can put forth so that no one loses their job. That everybody will have a job across the country, across the world. And so the results were that while, yes, there was a significant decline in sales, which was expected, we did not lay anyone off across our entire company in any country around the world related to the COVID crisis. And that takes a great deal of sacrifice from every single employee, every single manager, and all of our field leaders, all of the people there. So we got together and said, let's solve this problem. Right? Sometimes you define success as merely surviving. That sometimes is a good definition of success. And then there are other times when a 25% growth is a good definition of success. So we were very careful to define success carefully in this situation and set our goals appropriately and then take the actions to meet those goals. But it took, again, that wasn't Joe, right? That was our entire company working together so that we would protect as many people as possible and come through this as strong as we could. Right.
Did you have to go through any salary kind of cuts? I don't know how to say
absolutely.
It, so people were willing to do that.
Yeah. You know, the way we structured it was the people who were making the most money took the biggest sacrifice. Right. So, and because we always believe at Max, one of our values is, you know, if I'm willing to recommend it, then I better darn well be willing to do it. And so all of our top salaried people took the biggest cuts to make sure that the people who were making less of salary could take less of a cut. So we had a reverse progressive tax, right? And so that's what we did. And and that's not easy for anybody, right? Nobody likes to hear that. But what that provided was stability. The fact that now we're all in this together. We're all sacrificing for the betterment of the whole. That's a good value system to keep. And it allows you, there's some benefits from that. It allows you to trust the people that you're working with because they now know that this person's got my back. They took a pay cut so that I could make sure that I have a job, to make sure that no matter what's going on, I have something to be able to provide for my family. Right? And that is super critical. Our field leaders also took sacrifices. So, you know, working together, talking through the problem, you know, being honest and truthful about the things that we were facing, that method really helped us to get through that situation.
So a lot of transparency during that time and a lot of talking, it sounds like.
You have to develop, one of the key factors in business is trust. Mm-hmm. You know, communication and trust, and these are things that you can always be working on to develop, you know, because situations are constantly changing. You know, how do you develop a long-term trusting relationship with people, you know, the people that you're very close to, and then, you know, consumers in the world generally. You know, so this is a constant, it's a constant learning process, and it's a constant thing that Max is, you know, always trying to do and trying to do better because situations are constantly changing. And, you know, and sometimes, you know, in certain places in the world, trust is a very valuable commodity. It's not something that people are easy to adopt to and say.
I think that's universal. Really,
yeah,
actually.
Yeah, it's becoming more and more universal, right? Mm-hmm. You know, when you have battles about what a fact is or what truth is, you know, those then it becomes a universal issue, and I think you see it spread around the world. But I can tell you that in a lot of the markets that we work in, you know, trust is very, very tough to develop, right? Mm-hmm. Expectations of what a company is there to do, or what your internal culture is, it is constantly challenged. For example, I'm constantly asked in in Ghana, even though Ghana or Nigeria, we've been there for 8 years, going on 9 years. How long is Max going to stay? And sometimes you think, well, why are they asking me that question? We've got 11 offices throughout West Africa. We've never we've been there, but it goes to show what the expectation has been of companies coming from
and
abroad.
go is what you're talking about. People who come and then go. I got you.
Yeah, and what their purpose is. Are they truly committed to the region? Are they truly committed to the development of people? So it's okay when you look at that history to say, wow, trust is going to be tough here.
Another thing I would think that's important is hiring indigenous people who are from the area. Does Max tend to do that when you go into areas? Are you able to bring in, and I know you do a wide search for managers, I would assume that, but are you able to at times hire people who are from the place where you're building for these managerial positions?
That's exactly what we do. And that's a reason why we are very slow in terms of, not expanding as rapidly as we might otherwise, because it's, our commitment is to the country and to the people that we're serving. And part of that is developing local talent at every level. And so we almost invariably promote from within every single time. And so a lot of our people, our senior managers, started in customer care in Ghana or Nigeria, and they showed their excellent work ethic. They showed that they were adaptable to our culture and learning and building, and they would get promoted. And so if you look at our roster of people, for example, our general manager in Ghana I actually interviewed her on her first day back in 2013, joined as a customer care rep, and now she's general manager of one of the most important markets in the world. Our general manager in Nigeria was our product consultant, his name is Augustine Koku Kokor. He brought Max into Ghana, and he got our products approved there. And now he's the general manager in Nigeria, our biggest market. And I neglected to mention Miriam. It's Miriam Mahama, who is our general manager in Ghana. But if you look at all of the managers that we have in the 7 offices in Ghana, they're all people who started working with Max as ambassadors, were trained, very obviously hardworking, very intelligent people, and now they're managers. And 6 of those 7 are women. Our assistant general manager, CMO in Nigeria, also began in customer care, moved to events. The 2 managers in Abuja and in Fort Harcourt also started either in events or in IT, at a junior level, and now they're managers of those offices. So I guess the rule really is that no, we don't have very many expats working in our foreign markets. With the exception of Mr. Tekle Menelik, who is now general manager of our Kenya market, and he started here in the U.S. and was the head of customer care and had a great desire to work in Africa, and so he was the first GM in Ghana, and certainly led the expansion throughout Ghana and throughout Nigeria. And now he's going over to East Africa.
Oh wow! So he is moving. I know to speak about your managers by name, that says a lot. I'm just going to throw that out there because it's like you are hands-on in the company, and I can tell that. I wanted to ask you another question though, and we could call this our speed round, okay? I'm going to ask you some questions and just see what your thoughts are about these things. You make decisions about lots of things. You have a very large group that you're moving along with you as you make these decisions. Who are your advisors? Who are people that you go to for business decisions or for personal decisions? Who are those people that you tap into? What types of people? You don't have to necessarily tell me their names, but you can if you'd like.
I will. I mean, there are people. So there are a number of people that are very close to me, and so I keep my friends close and my advisors close. One of those advisors, of course, is your brother Eric Collins, very critical human being in my entire life in terms of how I conduct myself and what types of cultures I want to build. The people within Max, Olivia Sessi, very important woman. She has tremendous experience, immigrated from Togo to Salt Lake City, started out in our customer care department. And I'll never forget, Olivia had told me when and I know she'll beat me up for saying this, but we had started the culture of, we were doing trainings on every Tuesday in our office, because my philosophy was I needed to find 5 good people to be able to build the organization out. And until I found those 5 good people, it was going to be very, very tough to effectuate the change that we needed to have and the growth. And Olivia, being very truthful and straight, when I told her, what we were going to be doing, she just looked at me straight, and I said, because I said, well, does anybody have any questions? Because I'm a very participatory person and I want questions. She said, I don't think you know what you're doing. And I was like, yeah,
that's a statement right there.
I said to her, I think I do know what I'm doing, and we'll find out, right?
Oh,
But she's been one of the most critical people in terms of helping us grow and teaching people what our culture is. And now she is the general manager of our Côte d'Ivoire market, and she runs all of our inventory globally. There's, of course, my critically important partner, Jim Stravaglia. Just a great, great guy. He was a tax partner at Pepper Hamilton, and he came with me to Max. And to have a person, that committed is super important, to have a person that close. That is so great. Then there's Larry Lowe, our chief marketing officer. And this was my college roommate, right? So it shows you how important having strong, close personal relationships is.
I was going to say that. So it sounds like you surround yourself, your advisors are people that you've had long relationships with, it sounds like. Or, I know Olivia, you spoke about her, maybe not such a long relationship, but you've had relationship with them. They are able to share in your same, I guess, culture, mindset, as far as how you think about things and how you make decisions. But they will call you on stuff, because I know Eric, obviously, he's my brother.
That's the most, but that's the most important part, right? To me, as a leader, if you are not open to learning, right, which is one of our most critical cultural imperatives at Max, is, question me. I do not need sycophants. I need people who are going to tell me, I disagree with you, and here's why. And I always tell people that in our company, that you can disagree with me, please tell me why. And tell me what the solution is and why we should do it differently. If you have that type of open dialogue with people that you trust and care about, you come up with the best solutions, right? Because that's the goal. We want to present the best solution to the problem, given the circumstances that we have. You don't know how it's going to turn out, right? Because nobody, again, if you had a crystal ball, we would be a $30 billion organization, right? Because we would have done everything absolutely perfectly. Perfect. Yeah. But you have to make decisions in the context of the situation. And you need to have people around you that are willing to explore different options and really explore them. Now, it may come down to that I have to make the ultimate decision in certain situations, but I need to get as much information from people that I trust, like Tekle. I've known Tekle since I was 18 years old. I've known Larry since I was 18 years old. I've learned as much from them, I'm sure, as they have learned from me. I've learned, and the same can be said for Olivia and my friends, Augustine Kopu-Kokor, and all of our general managers, right? And Jim. We have a very open dialogue, and you have to be open to listening and learning.
Oh, yeah.
And then you make your decision, and then the team then has to execute it, right?
Okay.
Once you've made a decision, again, we talk about this. You can disagree, but once that decision is made, execute to the best of your ability, right? Because sometimes you're going to agree with it, sometimes you're not.
Right. Okay, let's again continue our speed round, I'm calling it. But what you're saying is so interesting. I get engrossed. It's the speed round. We've got to get better. So let me ask you about this. There are things that happen that seem like random things in your life, different experiences, different jobs that you have. Have you thought about the fact that different things have come together to bring you to this moment, to bring you to this job, to bring you to Max International? Or did you say, when you were 18 years old, hey, I want to work in this kind of business. I want to do network marketing and I want to be a CEO of a network marketing company. Tell me how that worked out, that you were able to do something like this. Were you deliberate, or was it, and I never think anything's random, because I don't believe in random things. I believe, like you were saying, I believe in God. So I don't think things are random. They're random to us. They're not random to him. So tell me, how did things work out in your life that you ended up, what pieces came together to help you get where you are at this moment?
Well, first it starts with the family, right? My mom, dad, and my aunts. I mean, they instilled the desire for education, but also the desire to be good. Be a positive effect on the world around you. So it starts with the value system, and then it comes to your partners and people that you add into your life. I was very lucky again, to meet Larry in college, to meet Tekle in college, to meet Eric in law school, and so when you surround yourself with good people that care about you and care about your development, then I think it becomes a little bit easier to reach out and care about others. And then it was fortuity, to come across Dr. Nagasawa in this transaction and recognize what it could be and what it could do. That's great. And if it wasn't for him, I probably would have become a partner in the New York law firm. But instead, I understood what he had and what value collectively we could create for the world. And that's what we then tried to do. And so then we start to bring in new people to our Max world, and we add good people here and good people there, and all of a sudden you're starting to have a little bit of success. So combination of fortuity, good decision making, and and luck.
Okay, well, you got to throw that in.
Hard work. Don't forget hard work.
Hard work.
Hard.
Some sleepless nights, I can imagine, things like that. I'm sure. Sorry about that. I had to change my my earpieces. So I wanted to also ask you. That's great, Joe. I understand how you're saying those things came together to work out for you. Are you the fact that you're a Black man? Obviously, we talked about that. I know of mixed race, but you identify as a Black man, and to be in this sort of position, what do you think that means as a community? As you're being looked at, somebody who's and I know you said you still have a lot of growing to do, and that's great. Obviously, you want to always be in a growth mode, I would think. But as you look at yourself and as you say, hey, here I am, I'm in this position. It's a high profile position, again, for people in the industry. What does that do? And does it color your decisions that you have to make as you lead?
It doesn't color my decisions. I think, though, that symbols matter, right? It's certainly not lost upon me that people will look to me and say, okay, you got a Black CEO of a company in Salt Lake City, Utah. You have a company that's focused on, a large part of our sales are in Africa, that a large part of our sales in Central and South America. The value system that we project and the things that I say and do make a difference. And I would be kidding myself if I thought otherwise. So always want to set a good example, the best example that I can set for the people that look up to me. I want to set the good example for Black men, so that they know, hey, this is a person whose value system we want to be a part of, right? That things are done in a way of respect and care and adding value, right? That it's possible, right? That you can do this no matter who you are, where you're from. If you want to be educated, if you want to work hard, you can achieve. Because I believe that belief systems really dictate results, right? And I mean that in the sense that if you have a cultural imperative, a cultural belief that a certain group of people is going to behave in a certain way, while it may not affect a particular individual, the group results will bear themselves out if that belief system is repeated over time. And so it's important as a Black man that we continuously talk about what we can do, what we can achieve, right? The things that are in front of us, the opportunities that we have, right? So keeping it in that positive mindset, right? Because everybody is going to run across difficulties.
Sure.
Right? If we immediately ascribe them to a racial issue, right? That's very self-defeating because there's not much you can do about that.
Right.
But right? And so I would implore people, don't take that as the excuse, right? Or, maybe it is a real thing, but overcome the problem. Define the problem as, okay, I'm going to find a way to succeed. I'm going to make it a solvable problem.
So you're not saying there might not be a problem. You're saying if there is a problem, solve the problem and don't make that a reason not to. Is that pretty much what you're saying?
Exactly. That is exactly what I'm saying. And if you do that, now you are in effect solving the overriding cultural problem. Okay. Because now you're not saying, oh, my company didn't succeed because, oh, I'm black and this is why this manufacturer wouldn't deal with me, or, oh, this is why. No, I'm going to go solve the problem. And so then when people look at you, they're saying, wow, look at that guy just hustle. Wow, no matter what the problem, solving that problem, going to keep moving, going to get successful, right? Keep looking for the solution. Look for the solution. Look for the solution. So let's put it into a little bit of real context. So when I go back in that room when COVID strikes, I have my panic, but that's not what you show to the world. Yeah, panic. Okay, it's scary, it's tough. I get it, and it's real, and you should acknowledge it as an individual. But that's not the face you show to the world, because people need to believe in you as the leader. They need to think, this guy's got this. I'm putting my life in this man's hands. He got this. He's thought it through. He's solving this problem. He's being truthful that it's tough, but he's got a plan, right? So when you say, okay, got this, as you put the question to me, am I aware of my race? Yes, I'm aware of it. Yes, I'm aware of the difficulties. I'm not going to let that stop me, right? Yeah, it's tough. Okay, it's tough. Let's solve the problem. Let's go fix it. Let's go build. Let's go invest in Black businesses, right? Let's go help people who want to be helped. Let's go find those smart people, because there's so many of them. There's so many hardworking people, hardworking women. Let's find them. Let's give them the opportunity. Right?
So as you hear,
and that's what we do.
As you hear folks, and I've said it before, as you hear folks say, I'm tired, I'm tired. What is your response to that? Because I get that, and we get that. I'm saying we as a group of people get that in various groups, but I'm trying to figure out, when you're saying that you just kind of get up and hustle. I remember when I listened to one of the Max videos, and I heard you talking about the jobs that your mom and your aunts did. How do you kind of relate the two? How, again, we're tired. People are tired. I assume they were tired.
Sure. As a human being, we all get tired, right? So this comes to your personal process, right? So my personal process with respect to being tired. It's okay to be tired, because you're going to be tired, but make it limited amount of being tired.
Limit your tiredness. Right, I'm going to write that one down.
But in the sense of, like, okay, if you want to, complain about things, it should be in a limited amount of time during the day, right? So we at Max, we teach people about, okay, how do you start your day? We say it's an everyday statement. So if I get up in the morning and I give myself an everyday statement and an affirmation about, hey, what I say to myself is, I say, thank you, God, for giving me the skills to deal with whatever I'm going to face, right? Okay. Whatever's coming at me today, thank you for that. That puts me in an emotional mindset to say, you're ready to go. Ready to go for the day. But then during that day, you run into different things that are going to cause you problems. You may be, quote unquote, tired. When I'm tired, I have my friends and support to go to, so that I can say, I'm so tired of this. And, your brother will say to me, and that's enough of that. Thank you.
I know he's
good job. Right. But it lets you have a process to deal with your tiredness. So you have to have that support. I have plenty of outstanding friends who will listen to me, moan about, the things that are in my way and the things that I don't like. But it has to be structured so that it doesn't become your dominant thought, right? And so then in the evening, I have an every evening statement. I go through the 5 things that I'm most thankful for in my life, so that I go to bed rested to say, thank you. Thank you for this person. Thank you for this opportunity. Go to bed in a mindset of thankfulness so that I can rest, because I need to rest so that I can get up the next day and be productive. And then I start my day with the statement of, okay, are you ready? Warm up, get the emotions ready. You're going to be dealing with some tough issues. You're going to have to make some tough decisions, but be in the mindset that you're open to listening, that you're open to learning, that you're going to take your time in making the best decision possible, right? So you can have processes in place to allow yourself to deal with the difficulties you're going to face. Because again, every single person is going to face issues. You're going to face challenges.
And you're going to get tired. That's true.
Yes, you are going to get tired. Have a way, have things in your life that will allow you to lean on people.
Right.
You have to have that. That's part of building a successful life. Have that group of people that is going to say, you know, like I did when I was growing up. And this is, again, one of the things that I'm most thankful for. Of course, I come home crying, oh, this kid said this and this kid said that. And my grandmother would say, oh, come here, let me give you a hug. Let me give you a hug. It's okay. You all right? You all right? And, you know, yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay. Now you go out there and beat that kid's ass, okay? Right?
Okay.
Right?
That's like, that's how it ended up.
I love you. 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 Now, anybody going to pick on you like that, you get back out there, right?
You show them. Yes, you show them, basically.
You show them, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, you have to structure your life so you have those systems in place of support so that you can be tired, because you will be tired. And those people in your life should help lift you up so that when when your period of being tired is enough, it's okay, now it's time to get back out there, that you get back out there, right?
Yeah. And
it's important to acknowledge that we're all human beings, right? That nothing is perfect, right? But you can set up your life and your support that you will have all of the things you need to become successful. That's very, very.
I have a few more questions. I know that folks have been so great. We really appreciate you all being here for this conversation. I'm enjoying talking to Joe. He's been very transparent and sharing information with us. So I have a couple more questions for you, Joe, but definitely about being tired. We all get that. So I think that, like you're saying, get that support, build yourself up, and get back out there. I get that. And I heard your grandma. I heard that. I like that. I also wanted to ask you about failure. Folks talk about failure. That's our big thing now, our hashtag, you know, failure is great. Go out and fail a lot. We all hear that. We understand that. But when the failure is actually happening, it doesn't feel that great. I know we talk about failure being a great thing when we look back at it, but when you're in it, talk a little bit about something. And again, this is supposed to be the speed round, but I keep going in. Talk a little bit about a failure that you have had, something you've identified as a failure that you've had, if you can. And then tell us how you dealt with it in that moment. So again, looking back, we get that. No, the moment. That's what sometimes people are in a difficult moment right now. We're talking about being tired. You're in a moment of failure right now. What do people do? How did you get out of that moment and move forward?
Well, one of the failures that I had with, most recent was trusting wrong executive with responsibility. And it caused dreadful effect on the business. And it was my responsibility to make sure that I have people in the right place. That's kind of an important part of my role. And I absolutely failed. And again, the way you get past it is to have the right people around you to say, yeah, you made a mistake. Okay. It's all right. You're not going to make perfect decisions every time. So having the support around you, because you can get in the loop where you're just always just thinking, oh, mistake, my God, how did I do that? How did I let this person into this position? Oh my gosh, I am the worst, right? And you can start repeating that message. But if you have the right people around you to, pick you up and say, dust yourself off, and you should dust yourself off. Forgiveness is a very important part of any good relationship, and including a good relationship with you. You should be able to forgive yourself for making a mistake. That's part of being a human being. So having the ability to talk to myself and forgive myself, but also having, again, good friends around me to tell me, yeah, you screwed it up, but let's see what we learn from that, and what we can do together to make sure that doesn't happen again, or has a lower chance of happening. So it's that personal process. It's the support system that you have around you, and that helps get over very tough times. But one of the things that I think people may have a difficulty with is talking about the mistake, and talking about the feelings that come up in that, because it's difficult to be vulnerable. It's very,
Sure.
very
Oh, yeah.
tough. And as a, so when you think about like, okay, oh, I went to Harvard Law School, I was a lawyer for all these years, and then I'm running a company and I'm still making mistakes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That can like shatter a person because it's like, gosh, am I ever going to get this 100% right? The answer to that question is no,
No.
you're not.
Mm.
And I'm going to make mistakes. I hope to not make the same mistake twice. But I also should be able to develop personal processes that allow my ego not to be totally shattered, like I'm some perfect. I'll make every perfect decision possible. That I can be vulnerable with my friends and talk to them and my family and talk about how I feel about a situation, and I can expect that I will be supported, get the right support from them.
And I think it's important to realize it is just a moment. I know for me, like you're saying, nobody likes to have a failure. You want to do everything perfectly. It's not possible. So I think it's also that moment where you're just able to kind of move through it as easily as you can, like you said, with the support of those around you who you trust and you're able to be vulnerable with and just learn from it. So I know that's what people are saying when they say
Well,
failures are so
look,
great. But go ahead.
no, I don't think they're great. I will say that. I don't buy that. I don't think
Yeah.
they're great because they're freaking painful and they suck.
Yeah, they
And
are.
they
Exactly.
and there's such a horrible feeling that's associated with it. It's bad if you don't learn from it, right?
Right.
And it's bad if you don't move on, right? You
Right.
cannot stay stuck. You stay stuck in the quicksand from a mistake, you're repeating it over and over and over and over again. One thing that I would say I've gotten decent at is, man, once a mistake is made, it's over. Move on.
Right.
Next.
Right.
Next. That's lost. We're not getting that back. We're not
Yeah.
able to move backwards in time. Okay, let's drop it and let's move.
That's good
Let's get
advice.
to what we can do.
Yeah, that is what can you change? What can you forward movement? I think that's the theme here is forward movement.
But remember, it's easy to get, look, and this is something that I see all the time in our business because we're such a people business. People get stuck, like, and they,
Mm.
and something bad will happen to them. Whether it's a mistake or something that has, been done to them, right? It's hard to get and move. It's they stuck in this spot, right? And now the world is continuing to move forward, right? World is keeping going. Now you're stuck in this position. You've made a mistake that you won't forgive yourself for and move on, or something has happened that you're just so angry about that you can't move on. The world's moving.
Yep.
Business is moving.
Right.
People are out there, right?
Right.
Now, I'm not saying don't, again, segment your time in your day to allocate it to emotionally overcoming it or emotionally dealing with it. It's terrible just to throw it aside because then you
Right.
don't learn from it, right?
Right.
But give it its time, adequate time, not more than adequate time, and then move on.
Move on. Okay.
Get to the opportunities that are in front of you.
That's right. Not changing that past. That's right. Okay. There are a couple more I have, and I know we're about in an hour, so I want to respect people's time. I didn't say how long it would be because I knew you'd give us a lot of great information, but because we started a bit late, because we had a couple of technical difficulties, as we know. The best advice, if you can tell me short, the best advice that you have ever gotten. Can you think of one thing?
But always be open to learning.
Okay.
Listening and listening. And this is a constant, lesson, right? Because I always tell people that the day I think I know it all, boy, I better quit.
Good. Okay. I love that. What's the best advice that you feel like you could give to somebody who is trying to recreate themselves? Because like I said, to me, that is a lot of our market for Podbites with Verna, people who are ready to do something different. What's the best advice you can give them?
Be patient with yourself. Be very aware of your process, right? Be aware of who you are. Know who you are. Know what your values are. Know your strengths, know your weaknesses, and then surround yourself with good people that will, give you the proper level of support, give you the proper level of, if support needs criticism, that they'll give you that in a loving way, right? There's truth, and then there's brutal truth, right?
Right.
Be with people that just give you the truth in a loving way, right?
Okay.
So know who you are, know what your value system is, know what you want to achieve for you, because if you believe in who you are and what you're doing, you're going to do it well. and then surround yourself with people who support your vision.
Okay. To achieve the success that you have, do you feel like you had to make any any sacrifices? And that could be personal, or that could be business. Do you feel like you had to sacrifice anything?
Yes, there's definitely been a lot of sacrifices, but they're willing and they're knowing sacrifices.
Yeah.
You know, I knew what I was giving up when I left the law firm. Right, that was a sacrifice. That was also created conflict. Right, when people are telling you you're doing the wrong thing, and certainly when people that you trust and love and care about are telling you, what in the world are you thinking and what are you doing? You know, so those are tough because it creates a bit of tension in relationships. And so I look at those periods as periods of sacrifice. You know, and when you're having the periods of self-doubt, I also look at that as a bit of a sacrifice. I'm a very confident person.
Okay.
But when people were giving me doubts constantly, you know, some of that starts to seep in, and you start to feel like maybe I'm way off. But you know, so I look at that as sacrifice. And of course, you know, my family has sacrificed a lot, especially my kids.
Mm-hmm.
They sacrifice a lot because you know, they you know, as they were growing up, my time was very tough, you know, to give them all the time that they may have wanted or needed, when I'm putting in as many long hours as it takes to do what we're doing. So, and you know, financial sacrifice, you know, but that was part of the choice of what we're doing. I mean, if my goal was to make as much money as I could have possibly made, I would have stayed at the law firm. But that was a sacrifice that was worth it to me. That I believed in what we could do. I love what we do. I love what we do every day. And so, you know, that was well worth it.
Speaking of your kids, do they take, I wanted to throw that out there, do they take your advice? Because all of these words of wisdom that you're giving us as we wrap up, how good are they at taking your advice? You know, sometimes the parent-child dynamic can be interesting. I don't know what ages they are. I think are they high school to college, or I'm not sure.
Yes, my son is a freshman in college, and my daughter is a senior in high school.
Okay. So are they taking dad's advice, do you find?
No.
You're like, you have kids? No, you already know this.
Are you kidding?
Was that a trick question? That's what we can ask. Yes.
They've gotten better at it as they get older. They start to see, oh, Dad actually gives some good advice sometimes. That's not bad, you know. So they do try to listen. Yeah. But I have my methods of having my friends give them the advice so that it's
however you can get the info. Exactly.
Sometimes it's the messenger, not the message.
That's exactly. I do the same. So I just was curious about how it was working with you. I wanted to ask you in the morning, what are your motivators? What gets you up in the morning? I'm going to compare that to what keeps you up at night. So I know you said you had your words that you say to yourself and the thoughts you have before you go to bed, but what gets you up in the morning? What motivates you? And what keeps you up at night?
Oh, it's actually the same thing. What gets me up in the morning is the fact that I am burdened with the knowledge that we can make a huge difference in the world, that we can change lives and improve people's lives, that we have the best supplement in the world, bar none. I would put it up against anybody's in a scientific test. And I know it's the best, without question, at doing something that is so critically important. And I know that we have a business model that around the world has had great impact, but I feel like we're just getting started. So I get up in the morning thrilled because we have huge challenges and great opportunity, great science, great people. And I go to bed, you know, sometimes if I'm trying to get to bed and sleep at night and I can't, it's because there's so much to do and so little time. Yeah. And I want to get there. Yeah. I want to get it done, you know, so that way when I get to the end, I can look back and say, look what we did. We did great things. We lifted people. We changed people. We made a difference. The world is a better place because Max International exists, and all of the wonderful people we have, they're phenomenal and they're great, and all of our lives mattered. And so So it's the same thing. I love what we're doing, and I want to do more of it.
Now, I know that our lives are a continuing thing until they're not, obviously, but we're evolving. And so you came from the law firm, you're here at Max International, and I'm not saying that you're going anywhere, but what is next for you? It might be as you're doing Max International, what else is in store for you? Do you have any other plans of how you want to expand, what you want to do as far as moving forward?
The idea is to continue to grow and expand opportunity for everybody. We have a strong focus right now in building in Africa. We're opening our Kenya market. We'll be opening in Uganda and Rwanda, and we're going to be opening in Cameroon, and we're just going to continue to grow there. We hope to build a manufacturing facility over there. So we have a lot of work. We want to bring other companies into Africa, in fact, and help expand opportunity, not just within the Max world, but beyond that. We want to show people that, hey, there's a lot of great business to be done. There are a lot of hungry people there that can really use your knowledge and do good business. We hope to bring more opportunity here in the United States. I mean, this is a market where we haven't grown nearly as much as we could, especially considering that we have the best science-based supplements in the world. The U.S. market is something that we hope to expand upon. We have our Max Beauty line, which we would love to help grow, right? Where we're celebrating women of color and providing them with the top level quality products that they well deserve. We want to work with other entrepreneurs in creating more opportunity. One of the things that's very important that I always keep in mind is that, hey, we're on this mission of saying, okay, we're going to make sure that we provide opportunity to people who haven't had it. Well, let's make sure we do that, right? Let's make sure we do that. And partnering with, I remember one of the things back in law school we would talk about was like, okay, well, what are we really going to do? Right? And it would be something that we would sit down, the minority groups, right? We'd sit down, we'd talk about our plans. Are we going to have a black president, for example? Well, we all know that Barack went on to become the first African-American president of the United States. And others of us would talk about what we would do in business. And so you start to see these guys and women growing into their own right now and then starting to hit this, positions where they can have a great deal of influence. I hope we can all live up to our word and get together and make sure that we're supplying opportunity where it wasn't before. And so there's just so much for us to do, and there's so much that we can do. The question is, will we?
I think that is the big question for all of us. And that, again, is the reason we wanted to invite you. And the reason for Podbites with Verna is to help to get people to that next thing. Will we do that thing that we are called to do in our lives? And what is the catalyst that's going to help us get started and get it going? Because we want action. We want action as opposed to conversation. You need to talk about it, obviously. But once you finish talking, you need to get up and get moving. And so that's why we brought you in. You have definitely really been a joy. I really appreciate the time that you took. Can you let people know? I don't know your website. So just let people know the website, just in case anybody wants to look up more information on Max International or Joe Voyticky and what's going on with him. Go ahead and give your website, please.
It's max.com, max.com. Pretty about as simple as
Can't get more simple than that. Right. I love that.
Max.com.
Okay.
And there's so many great things to learn about with Max. We have a wonderful YouTube channel and lots of great videos. But most important is for people to know that they should make sure they're checking on their glutathione levels and get a hold of some ribosine to lift it up all around the world.
You're everywhere, right? Okay, well, we got it. We appreciate it, like I said. And everybody, I want to let you know, thank you so much for coming, for listening. I was trying to look to see about comments. I know that a lot of people were just saying thank you. They really appreciated the time. And I really wanted to let you know, we're going to be doing this for this whole season. Podbites with Verna is about, like I said, we want to inform you, give you great information. We want to inspire you, introduce you to people like Joe, who are doing great things and kind of get you going. But we also want to ignite that thing that is going to get you out and acting, not just talking, but doing the action. So we appreciate your time. We're going to be back here next Sunday at 4 o'clock again. And until then, we want to say have a great week, everybody. Thanks a lot, Joe. Appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you, Verna.
All right. Take care, everybody.